In the bustling city of Seoul, YN, a young woman with dreams as vibrant as the neon lights, found herself in an arranged marriage with Jungkook, a man whose heart she once held but now regards her with disdain. Their love story, once filled with laughter and longing, had faded into bitterness and resentment. Despite their shared history, Jungkook couldn't overlook the circumstances that led them to this forced union. YN, haunted by the memories of their past, yearned for the love they once shared but knew it was a distant echo in Jungkook's heart. He wasn't happy with this marriage. In fact, he doesn't want to see you as his wife. YN couldn't see his hatred towards him by the way he behaves, ignores her as if she's not visible. Their days were spent in a fragile dance of avoidance and conflict, the walls between them growing taller with each passing moment. YN, with a heavy heart, realized that their marriage was a prison, suffocating the love that once bloomed between them. She came in front of Jungkook's room where Jungkook was doing his work. He doesn't come home that much, but even if he comes, she still feels lonely, and now this has started to suffocate her. YN hesitated outside Jungkook's door, her heart pounding with nervousness and anticipation. She knew she had to confront him about their strained relationship, but the fear of rejection weighed heavily on her mind. With a deep breath, she knocked softly and waited for his response. Jungkook opened the door, his expressions guarded as he glanced at her. "YN, what do you want?" YN's throat felt dry as she struggled to find the right words. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated for a moment before stepping aside to let her in. "Fine, but make it quick." They sat down on opposite ends of the couch, the tension between them palpable. YN took a deep breath, steeling herself for the difficult conversation ahead. "Jungkook, I know things haven't been easy between us," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "and I can't shake the feeling that you resent me for our past." Jungkook's jaw tensed, but he remained silent, waiting for her to continue. "I want to know what you want," YN continued, her eyes searching his for any sign of emotion. "If you don't want me anymore, if being married to me only brings you pain, then I'll give you the divorce you want." YN sat across from Jungkook, her heart heavy with anticipation as she waited for his response. She could see the turmoil in his eyes, the conflict between his feelings evident in the way he clenched his jaw. After what felt like an eternity, Jungkook finally spoke, his voice devoid of its usual warmth. "Do as you wish, YN," he said, his tone flat and emotionless. YN's heart sank at his words, the pain of his indifference cutting through her like a knife. "Jungkook, please," she pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion. "I need to know where we stand. Do you still want to be married to me?" He hesitated for a moment before speaking again, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know, YN," he admitted, his gaze fixed on the floor. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you for what you did." Tears welled up in YN's eyes as she reached out to him, her hand trembling as she touched his arm. "I understand," she whispered, "and if you want to end things between us, I'll accept it. I just want you to be happy even if it's not with me." Jungkook finally looked at her. Today she could see a sadness in his eyes. He doesn't really talk to her, but today he decided to give her a reply, to let her know that the reason behind his hatred towards her is she herself. "I wish I could say that I don't want to lose you, but I don't know if I could ever trust you and your words again. You don't deserve that." YN felt her heart break at his admission, the weight of his words crushing her spirit. "I'm sorry, Jungkook," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I never mean to hurt you." He looked up at her, his eyes filled with sadness and uncertainty. "I know," he said softly, "but the damage has been done and I don't know if we can ever repair it." Vian nodded, her own tears streaming down her cheeks as she struggled to hold back her sobs. "I understand," she whispered, her voice barely a whisper. "I'll give you the time you need to figure things out." With a heavy heart, Vian stood up and walked towards the door, each step feeling like a dagger to her soul. She knew that their relationship hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of uncertainty. But for now, all she could do was give Jungkook the space he needed, praying that someday they could find their way back to each other, but things don't seem to work in their favor. Jungkook threw his head back as soon as she left. He does not want to hurt her, but what she did in the past left him wounded till now. This marriage was arranged and that's why he had to say yes, otherwise he didn't even want to see you. But he can't even deny to himself that he still loves her. His heart still wants to accept her, but the memories of past and those betrayal pulls him back every time. Vian lay on her bed, staring up at the ceiling as she replayed the conversation with Jungkook in her mind. The weight of her decision hung heavy in the air, the uncertainty of their future looming over her like a dark cloud. She had laid her heart bare to Jungkook, leaving the decision in his hands. The thought of losing him tore at her soul, but she couldn't bear to force him to stay in a relationship that brought him nothing but pain. As she lay there lost in her thoughts, Vian couldn't help but feel a sense of resignation wash over her. She had done all she could, poured her heart out and bared her soul. But now all she could do was wait for Jungkook's response. Vian tossed and turned in her bed, the weight of her past mistakes bearing down on her like a heavy burden. She knew that earning Jungkook's forgiveness would not be easy, especially after the pain she had caused him in the past. The next morning, Vian prepared breakfast as she was expecting Jungkook to at least eat something, but he left for office before her. Vian sighed heavily as she watched Jungkook leave for work without a word. The silence between them felt suffocating, each passing moment only serving to deepen the chasm of uncertainty that loomed between them. She knew that their conversation from the night before had left things unresolved, but she had hopes for some sign of acknowledgement or understanding from Jungkook. Instead, his departure without a single word spoke volumes, leaving Vian feeling more alone than ever. With a heavy heart, Vian turned her attention back to the breakfast she had prepared, her hands moving mechanically as she went through the motions of the morning routine. The food sat untouched on the table, a bitter reminder of the divide that separated her from the man she loved. She loved him and still does. She is ready to pay every cost of the damage that she did in the past to him, but it's like he has completely lost his feelings for her, and all that remains is hatred. In the quiet confines of his office, Jungkook sat at his desk, his mind consumed by thoughts of the confrontation with Vian earlier that day. The weight of their strained relationship pressed down on him, suffocating him with a mixture of anger, hurt, and longing. As he stared blankly at the computer screen, his thoughts drifted back to the moment Vian had uttered the word divorce, the raw pain in her eyes, the tremble in her voice. It was a moment he couldn't shake, no matter how hard he tried. There was a nagging sense of guilt, a whisper of doubt that echoed in the depth of his soul. Despite his desire for Vian to understand the depth of his pain, a part of him couldn't shake the fear of losing her, of facing life without her by his side. She broke his heart, but he still has feelings for her. Lost in his thoughts, Jungkook didn't notice the gentle knock on his office door until it swung open, revealing his colleague and friend Taeyang. "Hey Jungkook, you okay?" Tiang asked, concern etched on his face as he stepped inside. Jungkook forced a tight-lipped smile, a feeble attempt to mask the storm raging within him. Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking. Taeyang studied him for a moment, his gaze piercing through the facade Jungkook had carefully constructed. You sure about that? You seemed pretty shaken up earlier. Jungkook's facade crumbled under Taeyang's scrutiny, his shoulders slumping as he finally admitted, I don't know, Taeyang. Everything just feels messed up. I don't know what to do. Taeyang pulled up a chair beside Jungkook, offering him a reassuring smile. Listen, whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone. We are all here for you, okay? You and Ryan will figure it out. Jungkook hesitated for a moment, unsure if he was ready to bare his soul to Taeyang, but the weight of his burden proved too heavy to bear alone, and he found himself opening up to his friend, pouring out all the tangled mess. Taeyang, I don't know where to start. Jungkook began, his voice tinged with vulnerability. Things between Ryan and me, they haven't been good and it's getting worse. She's been trying to talk, to fix things, but I don't know if I can forgive her. I know she regrets what she did, Taeyang. I know she's sorry. Jungkook continued, his voice trembling with emotion. But every time I look at her, all I can see is the pain she caused me, and I can't just forget that. Taeyang reached out a comforting hand, offering Jungkook a reassuring squeeze. I understand, Jungkook, but holding on to that pain, is it really worth losing her over? Jungkook's gaze dropped to the floor, his heart heavy with the weight of Taeyang's words. I don't know, Taeyang. I wish I did, but right now I need time to figure things out. Taeyang nodded understandingly, his support unwavering. Take all the time you need, Jungkook, but remember, love isn't about holding on to past hurts. It's about finding a way to forgive and move forward together. As Jungkook poured out his heart to Taeyang, his friend listened with a depth of understanding that could only come from years of shared history. Taeyang had been there from the beginning, witnessing the highs and lows of Jungkook and Ryan's relationship during their high school days. He had seen the love that has bloomed between them, but he had also witnessed the heartache when it all came crashing down. Jungkook, I know this isn't easy for you, Taeyang said gently, his voice laced with empathy. But I've known you and Ryan since high school, and I've seen the way you two look at each other back then. There was something real between you, something that I don't think either of you ever fully let go of. Jungkook's eyes flickered with surprise at Taeyang's words, a glimmer of hope sparking within him. You really think so, Taeyang, even after everything that's happened? Taeyang nodded. I do, Jungkook. Sometimes things fall apart for a reason. Maybe there's a lesson in all this, something you both needed to learn before you could truly find your way back to each other. But how can I forget that she was the one who broke this love? If she loved me, why would she leave me? What could be the reason behind that? Taeyang sighed as he was understanding his pain. And now she's talking about the divorce. Again, that same thing. She can't fight for this love. She's giving up so easily. My behavior is valid because I never forget her. I still love her. Maybe she thinks that her presence is causing you pain. She must be thinking about you, and that's why she came up with this decision. The best way to resolve all this is to talk to her. Tell her what's going on inside you. Tell her everything, Jungkook. Forgive her. He stood up and patted his back. I know you wanted her back, and that's why you agreed for this marriage. Make it work because you stand in that same situation you were years ago. Jungkook stood in the doorway, his heart twisting at the sight of Ryan sleeping on the couch. Her usually vibrant face was pale, guilt washed over him as he realized the extent of pain he caused her. Jungkook's POV. As I gazed at Ryan sleeping on the couch, her tear-stained face reflecting the pain she had endured, a sense of turmoil churned within me, despite the resentment and bitterness that had clouded my heart. I couldn't ignore the undeniable truth that she was a part of me, woven into the fabric of my being in a way I could never fully comprehend. Approaching her cautiously, I knelt beside the couch, my gaze lingering on her peaceful feature. The weight of our shared history hung heavy in the air, a tangled web of love and hurt that bound us together in a way I couldn't describe. Vian, I whispered softly, my voice barely above a breath. Vian stared at the sound of my voice, her eyes fluttering open to meet mine. The vulnerability in her gaze tugged at my heartstrings, reminding me of the depth of our connection and the pain we had both endured. Jungkook, she murmured, her voice barely more than a whisper. Taking a deep breath, I searched for the right words to express the turmoil raging within me. It was the time to confront the painful truth that had haunted us both for far too long. Vian, I have been struggling to forgive you for what happened in the past. I confessed, my voice thick with emotion. But I have come to realize that holding on to that anger and resentment only hurts us both in the end. Vian's eyes widened in surprise at my admission, her lips parting in disbelief. Jungkook, she trailed off at a loss for words. I have been doing a lot of thinking, and I realize that I have been unfair to you. I have let my resentment cloud my judgment, and I haven't been willing to see things from your perspective. She shook her head, letting those tears fall. Because it was my fault. I broke your trust. I walked away like a stupid, leaving that unhealthy relationship. It was all my fault, and I caused you so much pain. But believe me, I was guilty. I still feel guilty. Jungkook continues, his voice is filled with sincerity. I also want to apologize for the way I've treated you. I know you regret what happened in the past, and I realize now that holding on to that anger only hurts us both. I want to forgive you, Vian, and I want us to move forward together. Vian's tears welling up in her eyes. Jungkook, I'm so sorry for what I did. I never meant to hurt you. Jungkook reaches out to gently wipe away her tears. I know, Vian, and I forgive you. But we can't change the past. What's important is that we learn from it and make a commitment to each other to do better in the future. Vian nods, a mix of relief and gratitude washing over her. Thank you, Jungkook. I promise to do everything I can to make things right between us. Jungkook smiled softly. We'll figure things out together, Vian, because no matter what, you are a part of me that I can never separate. Vian didn't know how to thank him. He accepted her even after all that. It was true that she never wanted to cause him pain, but things went differently. But now she was thankful that Jungkook was so mature and understanding. She decided to give her best to earn his trust this time. She will do anything to make this relationship just like before. In the days that followed their heartfelt conversation, Jungkook and Vian embarked on a journey of healing and reconciliation. They navigated the ups and downs of rebuilding their friendship with a newfound sense of openness and understanding. They spent countless hours talking, sharing their hopes, fears, and dreams for the future. They laughed together, cried together, and rediscovered the joy of simply being in each other's presence. With each passing day, the walls of resentment and hurt that had once divided them began to crumble, replaced by a bond stronger and more resilient than ever before. Jungkook and Vian made a conscious effort to prioritize their relationship, nourishing it with patience, kindness, and unwavering love. They learned to communicate openly and honestly, resolving conflicts as they embarked on new adventure together, whether it was exploring new hobbies, traveling to far-off destinations, or simply enjoying quiet moment at home. Jungkook and Vian found solace in each other's arms. And though their journey was not without its challenges, they faced each obstacle hand in hand, knowing that as long as they had each other, they could weather any storm. Through their shared experiences and unwavering commitment to one another, Jungkook and Ryan discovered that forgiveness was not just about letting go of the past, but about embracing the beauty of a future filled with endless possibilities. Their love, once tested by pain and betrayal, emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. And as they looked towards the horizon, they knew that their story was far from over. It was only just beginning.